Have you ever followed all the common health advice, eating more vegetables, staying active, yet still feel like your energy is fading, your confidence slipping, and your performance in the bedroom not quite what it used to be? What if I told you that some of the foods you trust the most, the ones you thought were good for your body, might actually be silently working against you? If you are a man over 60, your body is not the same as it was at 30 or 40. Hormones shift, blood flow changes, and certain foods that once seemed harmless can now have a very different effect. In fact, there are 5 worst vegetables that could be sabotaging your ability to maintain penis-strong erections and draining your vitality little by little without you even realizing it. Let me ask you this. Are these 5 vegetables currently part of your daily meals? If so, you might want to cut them out immediately because they could be quietly damaging your sexual health. But don't worry, stay with me because later in this video, I will show you exactly how to restore your energy, confidence, and performance naturally. I'm Dr. Thomas, a urologist and men's health expert with over 30 years of experience helping men rebuild their strength and vitality. And through my years in practice, I've seen how simple shifts in what you eat can dramatically change how you feel and perform. So if you're ready to take back control, make sure to subscribe to my channel right now so you never miss the real science-backed advice I share to help men over 60 feel their absolute best. All right, let's begin. Number 1, soy-based vegetables, the hidden hormone disruptor. Let's start with a big one that surprises many men over 60. I'm talking about soy-based vegetables. Now you might be thinking, soy? Isn't that supposed to be healthy? Well, it can be for some people, but for men over 60, the story changes. Let me tell you about one of my patients. His name is Peter, 64 years old, a retired architect. Peter came to my clinic frustrated. He exercised regularly, ate what he thought was a clean diet, and yet his energy was low, his drive was fading, and intimacy with his wife had become rare. When we reviewed his diet, one thing stood out. Nearly every day, Peter was consuming soy milk, tofu, and edamame. Like many health-conscious men, he'd replaced dairy with soy and added plant-based proteins to his meals. But here's the catch. Soy contains phytoestrogens, plant compounds that mimic estrogen in the body. And while these compounds may not be a big deal for younger men, for men over 60 whose testosterone levels are already declining, this added estrogenic effect can tip the hormonal balance even further in the wrong direction. A 2007 study by Hamilton Reeves et al., published in Fertility and Sterility, showed that high soy intake can lower testosterone and alter hormone levels in men. And in my practice, I've seen this play out again and again. In Peter's case, once he cut back on soy-based vegetables and shifted toward more testosterone-friendly foods like leafy greens and zinc-rich proteins, his energy gradually returned, and so did his confidence. So if you're a man over 60 and you've been loading up on soy thinking it's helping your heart or your waistline, it might be time to rethink that choice. And remember, this isn't about fear. It's about understanding your body at this stage of life and giving it what it really needs. Before we move on to the next food, let me ask you this. Have you noticed any unexpected changes in your energy or performance? If so, share your story in the comments. I read every one of them. And if you're finding this video helpful so far, take a second to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on tips that can truly support men over 60 on their journey to better health. Number 2, canned and pickled vegetables, the salty saboteurs. Next up, let's talk about canned and pickled vegetables. For many men over 60, these foods are kitchen staples. They are convenient, affordable, and have a long shelf life. But there is a hidden downside that most men never think about. Let me share a story about Frank, a 71-year-old retired firefighter. Frank stayed active, loved the outdoors, and prided himself on keeping his weight in check. But he came to see me because he was feeling more sluggish, and his sexual performance was declining. At first glance, Frank's diet looked decent, but as we dug deeper, I noticed something. Almost every meal included canned vegetables, pickled cucumbers, or sauerkraut. Here's the problem. These foods are often loaded with sodium, and too much sodium does more than just raise blood pressure. It also damages the delicate lining of your blood vessels, known as the endothelium. Erections rely on healthy blood flow. When blood vessels become stiff and inflamed from excess sodium, blood flow to the penis is reduced, making it harder to achieve and maintain an erection. In fact, studies show that high sodium intake is strongly linked to endothelial dysfunction, which directly impacts circulation. For men over 60 whose blood vessels are already less elastic than they were in youth, this effect is even more pronounced. When Frank switched from canned and pickled vegetables to fresh or lightly steamed options rich in potassium, his blood pressure improved and so did his performance in the bedroom. If your pantry is filled with canned veggies, it might be time for a change. And before we move on to the next food, if you find this information helpful, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, I would love to hear from you in the comments. What small changes have you made to support your health lately? Let's learn from each other. Number 3, white potatoes, the blood sugar spike you don't need. Now let's move on to a vegetable that almost everyone enjoys, but few realize the impact it can have on their vascular health, especially as they age. I am talking about white potatoes. White potatoes are a comfort food, no doubt. Mashed, fried, baked, or roasted, they show up on dinner tables across the country. But for men over 60, they can be a silent enemy when it comes to sexual health. Here is why. White potatoes are a high glycemic food, meaning they cause rapid spikes in blood sugar. When blood sugar rises sharply, insulin is released to manage it. Over time, repeated blood sugar spikes lead to insulin resistance, systemic inflammation, and damage to the blood vessels. One of my patients, Ronald, 67, a former high school football coach, came in frustrated that his stamina and drive were not what they used to be. He still exercised and ate what he thought was a balanced diet, but when we looked closely, he was eating potatoes almost daily, often fried as French fries or hash browns. The link is clear. When blood vessels become stiff and inflamed from poor glucose control, the fine capillaries that support erections suffer. Erections depend entirely on smooth, unrestricted blood flow. Without it, performance fades. We made a simple switch. Ronald replaced white potatoes with sweet potatoes, which have a lower glycemic impact and are rich in antioxidants that support vascular health. Within weeks, he noticed improved energy and stronger morning erections. So if you love potatoes, I'm not saying you must give them up forever, but be mindful and choose options that are friendlier to your blood sugar and blood vessels. Before we head to the next food, take a moment to subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying this content. And I would love to hear from you. What is your favorite healthy swap you have made recently? Drop it in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else. Number 4, oil-soaked eggplant, a sponge for inflammation. Now let us talk about a vegetable that often sneaks onto the plate disguised as healthy, but can become a hidden source of inflammation if you are not careful. That is eggplant. Eggplant by itself is actually a nutrient-rich vegetable, low in calories and a good source of fiber. But here is the problem. Eggplant acts like a sponge. It soaks up whatever oil you cook it in. And more often than not, people prepare eggplant by frying it in vegetable oils that are high in omega-6 fatty acids. Too much omega-6, especially when it is not balanced with omega-3, promotes chronic inflammation throughout the body. For men over 60 who already face age-related inflammation and declining nitric oxide levels, this added inflammation can be the tipping point. Nitric oxide is critical for achieving erections because it relaxes blood vessels and allows blood to flow where it needs to go. When inflammation is high, nitric oxide production is suppressed and blood vessels stiffen. I recall working with George, a 74-year-old retired jazz musician. George loved his cooking, especially eggplant parmesan, which he prepared regularly by frying slices of eggplant in canola oil. He was stunned when I explained how this method of cooking was likely contributing to his issues with blood flow and performance. We adjusted his cooking. George began roasting eggplant in the oven with a light brush of extra virgin olive oil, paired with fresh herbs and garlic. Within a couple of months, not only did his blood markers of inflammation improve, but he also reported feeling more responsive and energized in the bedroom. The lesson here is simple. It is not always about what you eat, but how you prepare it. If this kind of practical advice resonates with you, Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you will always be up to date with the latest tips for supporting your vitality. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been surprised to learn that a healthy food might not be so healthy after all? I would love to hear your experience. Number 5, corn and corn-based products, fueling hormonal imbalance. Finally, let us talk about a vegetable that is everywhere in the modern diet, but most men do not realize how it can quietly sabotage their hormonal balance. I'm referring to corn and, even more importantly, processed corn products. Corn itself, especially when eaten fresh and in moderation, is not inherently bad. The issue arises when men over 60 are consuming large amounts of processed corn-based foods. Think corn chips, tortillas, corn syrup, cornstarch, and other hidden sources that sneak into so many packaged products today. Here is the concern. Processed corn is high in starch and low in fiber and nutrients. It spikes blood sugar quickly, which over time promotes insulin resistance and leads to weight gain, particularly belly fat. And here is something many men over 60 do not hear enough about. Belly fat is not just extra weight, it is metabolically active. It produces an enzyme called aromatase, which converts testosterone into estrogen. The more belly fat you carry, the more your testosterone is quietly being turned into estrogen, undermining your strength, your energy, and yes, your sexual performance. I worked with Samuel, a 66-year-old former school principal. He thought he was eating relatively healthy but was snacking on corn chips daily and often used corn tortillas for lunch. He was shocked to learn that this habit could be contributing to his low energy, decreased drive, and increasing waistline. Once Samuel reduced processed corn products and focused on whole, fiber-rich carbs like quinoa, lentils, and leafy greens, his body started responding positively. Over a few months, he lost stubborn belly fat, and his testosterone levels improved naturally. For men over 60 looking to maintain their edge, keeping an eye on corn intake, especially in processed forms, is an important step. Before we wrap up this section, if you are enjoying these insights, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you will not miss future videos. And let us build a community here. Share in the comments, what challenges have you faced with nutrition as you have gotten older? Your story could help another man on the same path. What to do instead? Building a vitality-friendly plate. Now that we have covered the 5 vegetables you should think twice about, the next question is, what should you eat instead? Because knowing what to avoid is only half of the equation. To truly support your energy, your circulation, and your hormones, you also need to give your body the right fuel. In my 30-plus years of working with men over 60, I have seen time and again that simple, consistent choices can produce powerful results. You do not need an extreme diet. You do not need to follow the latest trends. You just need to build a plate that supports the needs of your body as it ages. So here are my top recommendations. First, prioritize leafy greens. Vegetables like spinach, arugula, chello, and Swiss chard are rich in natural nitrates, which help your body produce nitric oxide. This compound is essential for healthy blood flow, including to the areas that matter most for sexual function. Second, embrace healthy fats. Foods like avocados, extra virgin olive oil, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish like salmon provide omega-3 fatty acids. These fats help reduce inflammation and support the production of key hormones, including testosterone. Third, include zinc-rich foods. Zinc is critical for testosterone production. Foods such as oysters, pumpkin seeds, lean red meats, and chickpeas can help ensure you are getting enough of this vital mineral. Fourth, stabilize your blood sugar. Choose fiber-rich carbohydrates like quinoa, lentils, beans, and sweet potatoes instead of refined grains or high glycemic options. Steady blood sugar means better vascular health and reduced risk of insulin resistance. Fifth, do not forget the basics. Move your body daily, even if it is just walking or light stretching. Stay hydrated. Prioritize good sleep because testosterone is largely produced during deep sleep. And manage stress, as chronic stress raises cortisol, which can suppress testosterone. When you put these elements together, you create an internal environment that supports vitality, not decline. Many men over 60 are amazed at how their body still responds when they make these targeted changes. You are not too old, it's normal. It is not too late. Your body is simply waiting for the right signals. If this section gave you some ideas, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you can stay updated with more actionable advice. And let us continue the conversation. In the comments, tell me what is one change you are ready to make starting today. I would love to hear your plan. Final thoughts. Small changes, big impact. As we wrap up today's video, I want to leave you with one simple truth. The choices you make every day, no matter how small they seem, can have a profound impact on how you feel, how you perform, and how you live. Too often, men come to me thinking that decline is inevitable, that it is just part of getting older. But the reality is, much of what we think of as aging is actually the result of choices, habits, and overlooked details, many of which can be changed. By being mindful of what you put on your plate, how you move your body, how you manage stress, and how you prioritize rest, you are taking powerful steps toward a stronger, healthier future. Remember, it is not about being perfect. It is about being intentional. One better choice today leads to another tomorrow. And over time, those choices add up to real, lasting vitality. I hope today's video gave you new insights and practical tools you can start using right away. If it did, please take a moment to like this video. It really helps support the channel and allows me to continue creating helpful content. Also, feel free to share this video with a friend or loved one who might benefit from this information. Sometimes one shared video can make a big difference in someone's life. And of course, if you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. I have many more topics coming that I know you will find valuable. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I truly appreciate you being here. Wishing you continued strength, health, and happiness on your journey. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.